Sorry, what am I doing?
What's going on, Rodney?
Hey, Derek, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Your video is not on, but I can hear you.
Oh, so I got my son here. This is Andre, because I am a disaster.
Hello.
Perfect. There you
Andre.
go. Hey,
Andre's going to sit right next to me and make sure I try not to mess this up too much, you know?
you're too young a guy to have a son that old.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, good. It's nice
Good.
to put a shirt on rather than being in sweatpants, you know, after a month.
All right. Right. I got the sweats on, but I have the suit jacket on.
The old TV anchor, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The new norm, right?
you got the see Andre? Derek's got a private plane. So
That's my green screen. Should we change to the Bat Cave?
so I had a couple of questions. I have two videos. They're about 2 minutes long each. Do they go down well, or is that too long? Or
No, that's totally fine. Vivian did a couple last night. Did you see them? Or
yeah, I saw one of them. Yeah. And I'm just a little concerned going in and out. Can I send them to you and you throw them up, or we should just do it ourselves?
Yeah, so the best way is to do them on your screen and just hit the share button at the very bottom, the same as you would do a PowerPoint. Otherwise, if you share them to me, what's going to happen is it's going to lag it down.
Okay, no worries. So we'll have at it, and if we mess it up, we mess it up.
So now, where are you located, Rodney?
New York. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you're right near me, Andrew, and Vivian, and the whole gang, huh?
Yeah. You're in. Where are you?
I'm in New Jersey on the shore.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I've got a salon on in Soho. So we've got 4 in the city.
Yeah.
So
Where in New York are you?
58 Soho between West Broadway and
You're right downtown then. You're right in Manhattan.
Yeah. And then one on in the Arlo Hotel just on the edge of Tribeca, and one in Brooklyn. Yeah, in Williamsburg.
Yeah, I just picked my daughter's boyfriend up from Brooklyn. He's going to stay with us during this. Yeah,
that's good. So this has been great. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going. It's a little tiring. I think got 30 days straight now booked, and trying to keep up with the clients during the day and then doing this at night. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And feel free to jump in, because I could do with a little bit of help. I'm not, like those guys are such unbelievable facilitators. So jump in and ask me questions or whatever.
I will definitely do that. I'll keep you going like I did with Beth. Did you see me get Beth going?
I don't think you need to get Beth going.
Exactly.
She just goes. I was laughing. I rang David Stanko that night. I was like, David, you just got a shout out. Get on this. Do you have a consulting company and salons, or?
Yeah. So my wife and we had 3 salons. I come from a business background. We were the ones that kicked off memberships throughout the country, how to use memberships.
Oh, cool.
And then it evolved from just showing people how to do that into full consulting. And now we also have our own software platform now, which has been needed in the salon industry. It's specifically for marketing only for salons.
Oh, wow.
It's a full-blown marketing platform.
That's great.
We just signed up with one of the big software other point of service companies that they want to integrate it. So that should be going along well.
That's cool.
It's pretty powerful though. Our average client gets anywhere from 100 to 200 clients a month with our software, and the software only costs $100 a month.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
And it's helping him just outreach and.
So it does every piece of the marketing that salon systems don't do. So salon systems remarket to your existing clients. This software goes out and gets new clients. Right. So it connects into your website, connects into your Facebook ads, your Google ads. It connects into all your social media profiles. You name it, it does it, and it tracks your return on investment on all your advertising.
Right. Oh, cool. That's amazing. Once we settle down, let's send it our way and we'll take a peek,
Yeah, for sure. I'm giving everybody in the group 2 months of it for free. So.
Oh, yeah? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
should we test? Do you want me to? Can I just test this, Andre? You're on. Test the just the PowerPoint. Just make sure it all works.
So the best way is just keep your PowerPoint running in the background, and then hit the share button, and you can click through the slides. There you go. Beautiful.
And then press play, right?
And then you go here.
And then play. Right. That's it. And then I just go boom, boom, boom. Then great. Oh, so then I'll always see you and myself.
Yeah, and all the other panel people, and you will be able to also see the people, not their faces, but all the attendees while they're asking questions.
Yeah,
that'll be up on the screen also.
And the faces, I just see you, James, and Andrew do it.
Andrew, correct.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get out of here, Andre.
Should I stop share screen?
Just go back to where we were.
You can just hit the bottom where it says stop share screen. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, cool.
So what you do is you just hit that stop share screen in between each time you want to pause.
Okay.
Got it.
Cool. Andre's watching The Office while he's doing this. How old are your kids?
So my daughter is 22.
Oh, right.
I've got one.
Cool. You got through the trouble years.
I don't know. I think the problems become bigger as they get older.
Yeah, less of them and bigger ones, right?
And the expenses definitely become bigger.
Yeah. By the way, if I look down here, like if I'm doing this, looking at notes every now and then, is that too obvious? Like,
no, that's fine. That's fine. Just be you. Be you. Don't worry about it. You know, a lot of these coaches, you know, like Vivian last night, she was too worried about like it not coming off nicely through the production. But don't worry about it. People are here to just pick your brain, and we're all in the same boat, right? And if you can give them some helpful advice, that's what matters. Yeah, and Andrew has really great things to say about you, so I'm sure everything will be fine.
Thanks, thank you. Yeah, no, it's good. I'm excited. Although I thought it was next Monday because I thought they moved me because of Passover. So.
Yeah, I didn't know. Andrew called me last night. He's like, "Oh man, we got to move people around." I said, "Why?" I said, "You just take the night off." I said, "If anybody's Jewish in the thing, then they can take the night off, and we'll work around it. That's all." Yeah. And you know, the scheduling's a little bit hard. Andrew's trying to do it, and when you're juggling 30 different educators trying to get their time slots in, it's tough. It's tough.
And you've got 30 now. Wow. That's
yeah,
great.
we do. So, and it looks like we're going to go on even further out than that.
Really?
So
awesome.
It'd be nice if we can go straight 60 days right through May. Of course, I may keel over at that point.
What's your wife saying?
She's about had enough already. She's like, "Are you ever not going to have a meeting?"
Exactly.
But it's our social distancing.
And do you have salons as well?
No, so we sold our salons. We had two here in New Jersey and one out in California. We sold them about 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And been coaching since then, working on this software platform for the majority of that time.
Yeah.
That's it. Our clients do really well. I mean, with the membership systems, they just kill it. They really do. I mean, I've got a client right now still making, even with the people that wanted to freeze their memberships, she's still making like 30 grand a month closed.
Oh, wow.
On membership fees. So with
so
no
membership
payroll.
is like come in as much as you want type thing, or?
Yeah, it's just like a gym, right? They pay automatic debit through their account, come in when they want. Depends on their level of membership. They can get different levels of service, and it's steady income for the salon. Every day you wake up, the money's in the account already.
Yeah.
And stops the whole stylist of saying it's my client, because it's no longer their client, because the client's under contract with the salon.
Right.
So,
and then what about the commissions? It's based.
We don't pay commission on them generally. We do in some salons. We teach salons typically we don't like commissions. We like salaries and bonus.
Gotcha.
So we try and walk them out of commissions. If they don't want to, it's extra paperwork where they'd have to keep track of how many members are under that particular stylist, and then cut them a commission check on that every month.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I know it's the whole commission thing's well, this whole
This is going to be
chairs.
that's why,
Crazy.
yeah, that's why it's the reset, right?
Do you think renting chairs will go after this and the uncertainty? Because I'm sure they're going to have a tough time as well.
I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to take a real beating.
Yeah.
And the people that are renting chairs are probably, I think, if they have smarts, they're going to move into an employee model. And maybe they continue doing what they're doing. I really can't make that call. I think suites will be okay. The bigger salon suites.
Yeah.
But that's a different atmosphere. Not every client is right for that. Most clients are social people, so they don't want to be cooped up in a little cubicle, and that's it, period. There are people that don't mind that, for sure.
Yeah.
But most people like to get out of it. It's an experience. And if you're doing it right at the salon, they pay for the experience, not the hair.
Yeah. And just a lack of community, right? And the whole sale on you'll make X amount of dollars. I mean, we've all seen it. We've had people who did it and now are starting to come back because they want to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, you've obviously been in the business for a while. Me too. I remember working for Sheer Honesty and Helmet way back in the day. And that was the old days when there were one or two product lines like Jerry Redding, right?
Yeah.
So, it becomes full circle, right?
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And this is going to make things happen a little quicker, I think.
Yeah.
I do believe that probably 25-30% of salons will not survive this. And by salons, I mean booth renters and salons.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. I think.
Just got to move James up to a panelist because he always joins on the wrong link. There he goes.
Oh, James.
What's going on,
There
gentlemen?
Hey, James.
I see you joined on the wrong link again.
Rodney, very nice to meet you officially. You've been on my list for a long time, and I'm glad that I'm getting to see you live tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been awesome. My family's thrilled that I'm on this computer every night at 8 o'clock. It gets me out of there. It's been great, man. You enjoying it? You're probably tired, but
What are we up to, Derek? Day 13 at this point or something?
This is day 11.
No, well, there's a day in between, so it's 12.
Yeah, we had a gap, so it's 12 technically, but
Yeah, it's
we're getting there.
keeping us busy, that's for sure.
yeah.
What do you have on tonight? What's your no?
I got New York on. I know Rodney's an Australian, and we have a lot of really good friends in Australia, but I know a lot of his salons are in New York, so we're back to representing New York.
There you go.
And hopefully, listen, New York is going to be the model for how every other state applies this social distancing. So everybody, fingers crossed that New York next week starts to show something, so we can figure out when the hell we get back into the salon.
I'm ready to run out and buy little plexiglass shields and start advertising them. Right, that go between the stations, probably make a fortune. Yeah, I just gave that idea. Somebody will steal it now.
I went in the shop today and just to check in, and we have that vestibule, the winter thing out the front to keep us warm. The homeless crowd had just moved in. So I tried to get into my salon, and these homeless people had all just moved into our shop, and I'm like, oh my God, had been there for a few days, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it's tough. Now, how many shops do you have now, Rodney?
We got 4.
Yeah. But you're all in Manhattan, right? All over the place.
One in Williamsburg. So we're on 58. We're in the Arlo Hotel now. We're at the Gansevoort. They sold that, and we're in Soho, West Broadway. And what about you? Where are you've got shops, right?
So we're in North Jersey, so Bergen County, which the joke is we're the 6th borough of Manhattan.
Cool.
So we're just as affected as you guys are throughout the 5 boroughs now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, my little town, the town we live in a small town. My wife and my kids and I. It's about under 7,000 people, and we're already up to about 90 cases as of 2 days ago.
Wow.
In that small microcosmos, so it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I live in Westchester, a mile from New Rochelle.
Yeah.
They got whacked.
Yeah.
One of the first, yeah. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to shout out to my staff. They've been amazing. People, being strong, and they're pumped. And, in January, people were complaining that how busy the salon was and there's nowhere to sit, and I'm not sure I can take it anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's no more complaints about that. So,
Yeah, it'll be really interesting, and we've been fortunate with this group that Derek put together of having on. I mean, obviously, listen, you know the caliber that you are, and your peers that are on. My joke was I went on the first night because I needed to prime everybody and get everybody warmed up, but it's going to be a really interesting landscape to see, not just in the sanitation and all the other things that happen in the salon, but Derek, I heard him as I was getting in about what salons will close and how it'll look for smaller booth renters, and hopefully everybody is adopting that mentality. It's like, go work for a better salon. Maybe if you weren't a great owner and it was rough for you, like, be a great employee somewhere and you probably make more money.
right. Yeah. 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 This is the opportunity, right? You can see it if it's been a struggle before, but I think if you're really focused on your product and, your brand, and I think you will come out stronger, because it actually, I mean, you stop taking it for granted, but you also reset, no pun intended, but you really do. Like, I'm going to be like, wow, I walked in today into the salon and I was like, oh my God, we've got to make this place better. I looked at the chairs that weren't matching and I was like, so it's just all those little things. So we're definitely going to do that,
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Is that something you're doing?
James, just a heads up, we're live now. I just fired it up live on Facebook, not for the meeting yet, but just to let you know, we are now live on Facebook also.
Perfect. Rodney, so I know obviously progressively wise, you had mentioned you're looking at the salon now as it is, and I know this is our B-roll before everything starts, but are you I walked in today and I'm like, all right, we're going to paint, we're going to do these things so that we open up, change the curtains, and
Yeah, I looked at how many chairs didn't match. I was like, oh my God, it looks different when it's empty. So, and I think it's an opportunity to really reset. You just keep going and you're in production mode. And when you're busy, it's very easy just to not stop and just keep rolling down that road, especially when it's going well. It's kind of like in sports, you learn more when you lose, right? Because if you're winning, you just like, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And then suddenly you look back and you're like, oh my God, we've dropped off. So I think this is definitely an opportunity for us as a brand, a company, to really ask those questions.
What's funny, on the way into the salon, I just stopped in to just check on some stuff and make sure that we had a power outage for some odd reason, so I wanted to make sure the alarm and all that stuff was back up and running. So I just did a quick stop, and on my way, I'm listening to Sirius Radio, and Howard Stern had Tom Brady on. So if you talk about the hair world, and if you said, hey, who are your biggest influencers that ever came out of the hair world in terms of football, Tom Brady has got to be. Hey, listen, let's be honest. I'm not a New England fan. I'm a Giants fan. But
the GOAT, buddy. He's the GOAT.
He's right. He's got to be number one. And what was really interesting was in his conversation with Howard, he didn't start playing football until he was a freshman in high school. He wasn't the best guy. He went to Michigan. He basically was a bench warmer that filled in between. And he really dedicated himself to doing and honing his craft and turned into what he did. So, there's definitely is a correlation to, you may not be the best now, but that's okay. Like, you can really put it in and do it.
Yeah, I thought Vivian nailed that last night about just practice when she was talking about Trevor, and just, it's a process, and it takes a long time, and it comes easier to some people than others, obviously, and but you can really just develop that skill. I think it's critical.
That was good. Now where are you? You're home?
I'm at home. I got my son here. He's sticking. He's going to help with the technical.
Hello.
He's 16. I'm like, Andre, sit here and help me with the technical side of this. We got some videos, but I have to say, are we live now, or are we?
So we're live on Facebook. We're live on Zoom, but we don't start until 8:05.
Okay.
Just to give everybody opportunity to get in here. So we've got 8 minutes left.
Yeah. No, so I'm at home. This is the sun's just gone down, so. But it's good, yeah. We're in Westchester, so it was an easy drive into Manhattan today. Trust me.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was like, whoa! It was like Sunday morning, 8 o'clock.
I know. What's crazy is that people driving with masks on, and listen, I wear a mask everywhere I go. I'm the designated shopper for our house of five, and But people that drive with the mask on and leave it on the whole time, they're so not used to driving with the mask. So everybody, they always drove like crap, right? Westchester's just as bad as Bergen County, and now they're masked up and gloved, and they're like,
They're even
it's
worse,
pretty
right?
funny. Yeah.
Well, you got another.
So we got a lot of people on here already. Anthony DeFranco's in here. Hey, Anthony, Stephanie, Laura, Vanessa. Whole bunch of people in already checking us out. Sarah, hey, Sarah, what's up? Got Iva in here. Oscar's in here. See, I think I saw Tina Black in here somewhere. Whole bunch of people. Welcome, everybody. This is the before the show, we'll call it, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be popular these days, right? Can you imagine how the after party is going to be? Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a hairdressing after party is something else, right? Many people have ruined their careers because of those. Right?
That's very funny.
Uh,
I got to tell you, Vivian, last night, what a trooper. Some of the stuff that the Sassoon crew told her, after doing those fashion shows. Oh man, she must have them like cast iron. Honestly, seriously, think about it.
Yeah, that was an era, right? But
Oh yeah,
putting up with it now, it's a little different.
well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
With these young ones, right? Telling you how.
Oh please, if you said some of the stuff that they said to her, the young ones would crash and burn right now.
Yeah, I think there's a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere between in my day and somewhere where we are now.
Well, that was in the day. If you were an apprentice, you were scrubbing the baseboard with a toothbrush, waiting to get onto the floor, right? Things have changed quite a bit now.
But I have to tell you that's an interesting point. I won't say what beauty school, but let's say it's one of the bigger beauty schools. And I had talked to the director of the beauty school, and we actually had hired his daughter. And to be honest with you, I don't really care. I can name names and not really be afraid of it because she's gone now. But it was the perception of a bigger beauty school, not necessarily better, but bigger to what an assistant actually does about earning their spot type of thing. Their perception is that, they don't need to sweep the floor. I mean, they need to be trained right away and all this stuff. And, in a state like, listen, Rodney's in New York, you know how it is. They're raising the minimum wage every year. At some point, you're going to have to pay them a really decent wage, which I'm not against.
Right.
To do what? So now you have to spend your time training someone that may not be a good fit at some point. So without having some type of trial period or apprenticeship, the owners are sort of out in the line.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one, and also the timing, right? With when to bring people in, and also to your point about if somebody's vested so much time, and are they going to be the right fit? That's always a hard balance. We're always you want to reward somebody for their hard work, but are they going to have the ability to go on and develop a career and build a clientele? It's tricky, and they surprise you, right? Sometimes out of left field, someone's amazing, and sometimes you think someone's going to get it, and they just don't.
Well, that's why I said the Tom Brady thing is that he wasn't the best quarterback, even at Michigan. Like he was okay, and turned out to be, as Derek likes to put it, the GOAT. But you look at it from that way. So listen, hopefully you're pleasantly surprised, but it's that 50-50 balance. Sometimes you're completely not pleasantly surprised.
So what I coach and what I did in our salons is load the bullpen, right? And let the cream rise to the top, and that's it. Because most of the time, hustle beats talent. So and that's who you look for. That's why instead of bringing on one full timer, you bring on 4 part timers, and you find out which one's the shark in the guppy bowl.
Right, absolutely. Well, and that's why I've always said we hire character, because you can teach someone to cut a straight line, but it's hard to teach them work ethic. And so I'm looking for that person who's got to commit to the process, regardless of if it takes a little.
100%.
Oh, Andrew.
Here comes Mr. Commitment himself.
How are you, Andrew?
He's got to unmute himself. Here he comes.
Hi, guys.
Oh, I didn't
Hey, Andrew.
know we were going to be honored by your presence tonight. Thank you. I think family commitments.
Wow. Hi, Rodney. You set?
I'm good. Hey, thank you for joining us. I thought you'd be busy tonight.
I had my matzah.
Hey, listen, there's not, if you're going to celebrate Passover, Andrew, and you can't go outside or be with your family, we're your family. So it's just, it's probably
Absolutely.
secondly just as good.
Absolutely.
We're all in Passover mode right now.
It's the fifth cup of wine, guys.
That's it? You're holding up good.
Yeah.
Make sure you have your bitter herbs there, Andrew.
I had them all day, man.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, Andrew doesn't get feisty until the end of the call with the wrap-up show.
that's right. We're cool
So-
throughout.
We're going to get kicked off. We're going to go at 8:08, 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, and to you guys watching, happy Passover, anybody that celebrates. I know this is it's an interesting week for a lot of you that whatever you celebrate. I mean, obviously being stuck home. I mean, I think New Jersey, we're on, Rodney's probably almost in the same boat, right? We're almost on 4 weeks now
Yeah.
being stuck. So it's tough. It's tough not to see your family and your friends, and especially during the holiday time. And you know, we're all here, and obviously we hope you guys have been joining us. So it's a little bit of our family being able to get together and actually see faces, which is pretty cool because it's hard to not have that interaction. And I have to be honest, school starts for us again on Monday. My kids were on spring break this week, so I'm ready to strangle somebody. You might see me on an E! True Hollywood Story at some point because it's homeschooling is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
James, you were talking like a true rabbi that just then.
Hey, listen, I might have to find something else to do because when we go back to work, if they go deskless in the front, my wife might give me the axe after we go back. As long as she gets her PPP loan refunded, she might tell me a few months afterwards that I have to take a hike.
I don't know.
James, it's interesting you talk about when we were closing. Like it seems like a year ago, but that 4 week where I think we were trying to limp to the weekend just to sort of make sure we can payroll the last week in the revenue. And we started to get criticized by some of the staff and some of the clients were getting concerned. And other people were saying, please don't shut. And we need to shut. And then we had no choice. So that actually made it easier. But it was such a challenging few days in doing the right thing and not knowing. And who knew we were going to end up here, right?
Yeah, and it's funny that Derek knows that first Monday we closed officially on our own on the 14th, where the state of New Jersey actually closed us on the following Thursday. But that first Monday, I was on the phone with people in the state that I'm friendly with our town, with people in the county, because we do a lot of community work. So, we're fortunate that we had access to people and screaming at them that you have to say beauty salons, you have to say massage parlors, you have to say tattoo parlors, that they were, I mean, if you saw some of the texts, Rodney, that I don't know if I'd ever send that to somebody in the state at a different time, but we made the choice because I was worried about the staff safety.
Yeah. That's where it got really funky too. Yeah, and I was glad we made the decision too at the same time. Yeah, but we have clients we're calling. We have Anne and Carissa who are just amazing for us. They're on the phones the whole time. They're calling the clients. They keep moving it back 2 weeks, and they're booking. They're calling. These clients are calling, going like, "When are you opening?" I'm like, I don't know. So they're coming back. So I don't think we have to worry.
No, we're
So-
actually,
Somebody just asked, James, let me just grab this. Somebody
Good.
asked a quick question. They wanted to know what's our guesstimate on getting back to work. And if you really want it, what I think, okay, and you guys can chip in too, I'm going to say June 1st.
Yeah, I think at the earliest, June 1st. My better guess is June 15th.
Definitely here in New York City and New Jersey, I think that's what we're looking at. So some of the other parts of the country, I think we might, they may be up and running middle of May, but not here, for sure not here.
My guess was that we would do some soft opening. I don't know whether it's, I'm not suggesting it's the right thing to do, but I thought we might get back a little earlier, but it might be no more than 10 people or whatever, In Australia, they did this thing where you had to do a haircut under 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't know the difference between being around someone for 29 or 31 is going to make a difference, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So standing there timing or what? How does that work?
It's safer if you get a haircut done in 20 minutes.
There may be a phase in.
With a timer like an NFL referee.
Yeah, I thought maybe there is a soft opening. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's something that we had talked about. You know, it's funny as this education thing builds out and as the climate changes for what we're doing. We had talked about that. Is what does a 30-day soft opening look like? What does it look like at 90 days? Is everything disposable that you have? And then it starts to turn into, wait, are we comfortable to open if everything is disposable, including us, right? Like, it's like the clients are fine, right? Everybody has a mask and the stylist, everything gets thrown in the garbage. And it's like the only thing that stays in that spot is the stylist. So it's like, hey, if we're not ready, man.
I'm going to give everybody a quick hint right now before I invent it. If you can, find your local guy that's a glass place and get plexiglass stand-up shields to sit in between the stations. And this way you don't have to go every 6 feet, right? Because my feeling is they're going to make you go 6 feet. That's every other station. So, you know, going to the food store, I see all the food stores now have these plexiglass pieces in front of the cashiers. Do the same thing with your salons. Get prepared. Get ahead of it. You know, you don't have to buy them right now, but I would have that supplier lined up for sure going back.
What do we have? 4-foot centers, pretty much?
Yeah.
3-foot minimum, 4 to 5 is the standard. It definitely doesn't meet the 6 feet though. You know, so it would have to be every other station unless you had a barrier in between. And what I'm seeing in the food stores are those cheap plexiglass partitions. If you know, I would start, if I still have my salon, I'd start sourcing them right now. I wouldn't buy them, but I'd sure as hell source them.
Yeah, see, I think stylists should wear armor. And if you really want to be an expert and you're dressed like a samurai in this crazy mask, and it's like, we're going to, you know, I'm not condoning cutting hair with the samurai sword or that crazy guy with the axe and that stuff. But if you go in full gear, that it's like, hey, I'm an expert. You're going to sit down. I'm going to cut your hair. And we're going to talk about all the things I want to talk about. And I'm going to tell you this stuff. And we're going to be protected. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think you should. Your classes that week we go back should all be based on how to cut a bob again and how to do a single process, because we're going to have lost all our. So get Vivian or Andrew. I know Andrew, didn't you do a haircut?
I did.
So we might need a refresher course.
Single process the other day.
Beth Minardi's going to come back and teach everybody how to do 2 single processes at the same time, 6 feet apart.
There you go. So, okay, guys, we're going to get the show rolling. So, Andrew, James, mute your mic, please. And I'm going to kick it off to Rodney, if that's okay. Beautiful. So, welcome, everybody, to tonight's Beauty Business Reset class. Tonight, I have the honor of having Rodney Cutler on. Rodney, big fan of yours. You are a legend for sure. And we're really thankful for you to come on this evening. So, with that, I'm going to let you take the floor.
Thanks. And first of all, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this has been amazing every night at 8 o'clock, the education and, you know, the presenters have done an amazing job. You know, when I first came to America, it was 93. I think I met Philip one of my first weeks in at a seminar, and he was just so gracious. It was amazing, the people that you've had on and their insight has been incredible. I know, I don't know what your families are saying to you about all this work, but thank you. We can't thank you enough. I also want to give a shout out to the Cutler team, because you learn a lot about people in tough times. It's easy to be nice when things are going well, and you learn someone's character. And I'm just so proud of our team, the way that they've handled this situation. It's been really tough, and how we've gelled together, and people are positive and supporting one another. And it's really special. So I think we're all going to come back stronger, and it's going to be a process. And you know, it's going to be tough, but we're going to get through it. Andrew, you know, thank you for everything. Andrew actually gave a talk when we opened Soho, and it must have been about 12 years ago or more. And Andrew came in and gave a great talk about there's only 100 pennies in a dollar, and there still is only 100 pennies in a dollar. So thank you for that. So, and as a salon owner now, I actually do understand that. So what I want to talk about tonight is, you know, I'll give you a little bit about my background. I'm from Australia. I came here. I was fortunate to work at Bumble and Bumble in the 90s. It was an amazing experience. And what I loved about it was that the brand had been around for 20 or 30 years already by then. I may be wrong with the numbers there, but it was always relevant. It was always current, and it wasn't about one person or one thing. It was always evolving. So when it was my time to do my own thing, that's what I aspired to do. And that was to sort of create a brand. And I think Vivian hit that chord so well last night. And I'm going to talk about that later. Hairdressers have the opportunity to build a brand within the brand they work for. And so that was really important to me. And I think it's one of the most things that I'm most proud of today, that, you know, we have 4 salons, 58th Street, in the Arlo Hotel, in Soho, Williamsburg, and Soho on West Broadway, that we have a brand. It's still really relevant after 20 years. And I kind of want to just go through some of the things that we've created that just will sort of talk about the pillars that I feel that have helped us stay relevant and kind of keep us moving forward. So I've got my son here who's going to sort of to put the presentation up. Cool. Great. All right, you can see that. Good. Okay, so 4 pillars that we really work on, and this is really about the craft of the hair. It's cool, craft, creativity, and connectivity. I want to sort of walk through those, and I think it's you know, for me, one of the things we always talk about. One thing I've never loved, that the separation between business and craft. We build our business doing hair, so the more we can marriage that world between the decisions we make from a business perspective and the way we do hair, the more successful we'll actually be and more sustainable. So one of the things that for us was really important, and it's interesting, I actually don't consider myself cool. So it's actually really interesting that how do we stay cool? How do we keep ourselves cool? And for me, it's about being individualized. It's about understanding who you are individually. We are in an era where it's not about one look, where we had these seasonal looks that would suit all. We are in an era now where it's all about understanding with your guests what works for them personally. I think the biggest thing is being authentic. You know, I find a lot of times we push looks on clients, and we'll talk about trends and so forth, but we have to be truly authentic. Is it the right look? The other thing too, what I want to talk about is approachable style. And it's very easy to get very avant-garde, but if you can find that balance, and for us at Cutler, it was about finding the balance of having approachable style with an edge that comes from the runway, but it was wearable and absolutely approachable. And I think the big thing for us about what's cool for us is being inspired by the ethos of New York City. I'll give you one example. We actually opened in Miami, and we did some things really well, but one of our biggest flaws, and we were in the Gansevoort, and the Gansevoort actually went out of business. It was in 2008. But the thing that I learned was that we actually went down there and tried to bring New York to Miami. And I've changed the way I think now. Whenever we open a salon, whether it's in Williamsburg, whether it's on 58th Street, whether it's in the Arlo Hotel, it has to represent that neighborhood. What are we going to bring to that neighborhood? We can't just come in and go, we're from New York, we're going to do it better. And that was one of the things that I learned from the Miami experience. So for us, and for where we are in New York, it's the ethos of New York that we tap into, and that's how we connect, because ultimately that's where our guests, most of them, come from. Cool and understanding your demographic. I think this is really interesting, because when you look at trends, don't just look at it from a trend perspective. Look at it from where is your client on the spectrum. So if you look at Sable, who's in the middle, Sable is an editor, one of our clients. She's an editor at Allure. She's freelance now. She's super cool. If she sees it in a magazine, she probably doesn't want it. She actually wants it first. So it's okay where your clients sit, but try to understand where they sit. Is it something that, you know, in Brooklyn, I'll give you an example. If we have clients in Brooklyn, they're probably going to be a little bit more edgier, probably want to push that boundary. Where uptown, it might be a little bit more delayed and a little bit more conservative, but trying to find those little sweet spots or those little creative nuances that still tell those stories creatively, but they actually, more importantly, speak to the individual. And cool, staying relevant and in the know. I always found it fascinating that we were told, don't talk about politics. You get in the headspace and they go, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, don't talk about sex. I'm like, what else are we going to talk about? So I just found that fascinating. I actually think the more worldly we are, the more we can share with our guests, whether it is, you know, and obviously we need to be sensitive, but we're smart people. You know, the day where if we're just going to cut hair and color hair, we're just going to be the hair cutters or colorists. We have the opportunity to be influential in the things that they do from a style perspective. So what I encourage everybody to do when you're thinking about what's cool is look at it, whether it's music, whether it's architecture, whether it's makeup. You know, sometimes as hairdressers, we get stuck in this thing that beauty is about hair because we're hairdressers. Beauty is a part of it. It's makeup, clothes, hair, it's attitude, it's all of that drives us to the decision making that we do on our clients. And it's really critical that we see it from that perspective. So for me, when I think about cool, it's not about being the latest and greatest. It's about understanding what your guess is going to make them feel cool and what you're going to feel cool being their operator. So craft, I think this is probably the most important commitment that we have in our company, the commitment to education. You know, I've got one of my colleagues in Australia, Oscar Cullen, who actually said it best. He said, what happens if you train people and they leave you? What happens if you don't train them and they stay? You know, and I think this is the one thing, we've all experienced walkouts. We've all had disappointment with somebody you've trained and they leave. But I think having the commitment to the education platform is what has kept us current and relevant. And what is interesting over generations, you know, we're in 20 years now, you start to see things change. The way people see, you know, whether you're doing a classic shape, whether it could be a graduated bob, and how that is executed by the next generation. So we start to learn things and we start to bring new talent into the fold. And I think it's probably one of the biggest things that we've done that have sort of kept it current. We offer over 27 classes a month between cutting, styling, blow drying, some editorial, and color, obviously. We have an amazing education team led by Elizabeth and Greg, and it's one of the biggest things. We generally, if somebody's coming out of beauty school, we like it to, well, we don't like it to, it can take between 18 months to 24 months. What we try to do is we try to hire character. I think that's one of the biggest things is we can teach somebody to cut a straight line, but what we try to do is hire character. Somebody is going to have the commitment to the craft, you know, and if they have the commitment to the craft and that sustainability, we know we can get them into a place where they're going to be successful. And that's probably the biggest thing. One thing that what we did with our education campaign was a campaign called the I Am series, because I'd love $1 for every time somebody has said, you know, you're the expert, tell me what you would do. And I don't even know them. I don't know their name. I don't know anything about them. So what we did, we shifted the whole conversation. And rather than what's going to suit your face shape and what's fashionable, it's about who are you? So tell me who you are. And that's going to lead to the decision making on what we're going to do. So for the first thing for me, the most important thing is the empowerment. You know, if you say to somebody, I'm going to shave your head and you're going to look amazing, and they do, and they don't feel comfortable and sexy, it didn't work, regardless of the aesthetic value of it. So the first thing for me is the empowerment and finding out what is the ticker and what's going to make them feel empowered with a new look or the same look. Then the suitability. Does it suit? Can they manage it? Are they willing to keep it up? And then the last part is the trend part, and that's our job and our responsibility. So what I want to do is, I've got a little video. I'm just going to show one of our examples of our I Am series. Any questions, Derek?
No questions, Rodney. Everybody's following you, and everybody's really loving the higher attitude, and because you can't really teach the attitude, but you can teach the skills.
Well, here we go. Thank God my son's doing this. Thank God. I'd be here for All right, so we're going to share that. So this is I Am Emma. There we go. You can see that? No? You share. There we go. Here it comes. Yeah, you got it?
I am Emma. I've lived, and I'm originally from Charlottesville, Virginia. When I was about 7 years old, my mother and father put a cup of drip coffee in front of me, and my father said, Emma, why don't you try this? And and I dumped about all the sugar in and all of the milk. So I've had a taste for coffee from a pretty young age, but I have managed to wean myself off of most of the sugar and some of the milk. Since I came to New York as a coffee drinker, I've noticed there's been a growth of great coffee shops. It almost seems like coffee is being taken more seriously, and baristas are just everywhere. We're everywhere. You know you've met a barista when you can quibble about the same things. And there's nothing more fun to just snob out with another barista. The other passion in my life, besides pulling the perfect shot, is writing the perfect poem. When I was 17 years old, my dad gave me a book of poetry by Richard Rodney, and it was all over. I was going to be an English major in college. I was going to have an English bachelor's degree, and I haven't stopped writing, even since I was little. About 2 weeks ago, I was sitting, sweating in my apartment. I got on my computer and checked the weather. It was 90 degrees outside, 90 degrees in Brooklyn at 9 p.m. So I decided to go as short as I could. I think this time I'm going to hit that mark where it's just going to be perfect.
My coffee girl, she's so sweet. She makes us swirls, my caffeine. Well, I love the land, I love the band, I love the words to the end. My coffee girl keeps me awake. There's that motion, her makes me scream. I love the land, I love the band, I love the words until the end. My coffee girl, 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 my coffee girl.
There you go. That's Emma. Cool. So take the time to go deeper in those conversations. I think really to me what that's about is understanding her story, what she's going through with summer. She's ready for a change. And you know, I think some of the biggest makeovers we actually do on people that you've been, just to go in and say, I'm going to do the same haircut every single time, is to ask that question. Don't assume. Don't pre-mix the color. You know, they're just assuming that they're going to have the same look. And I've found some of the most exciting makeovers, not how much hair I cut off. It's just that when that client goes through a shift in their life, they may have had long hair to their shot and they're like, I'm ready for a change. And that's when it's really empowering. Oh, there we go, John Dre. Just there. Oh, there we go. Our craft. So we're a craft-driven brand, and I think it's really important to understand. I think the marketing and PR and all the things that we do on the outside are really critical, and they're fantastic opportunities. But and I always say that whenever anybody comes in and wants to work with our company, I state that very early, is that we're a craft-driven brand. We have to be focused on, yes, we want to earn a better living to live a better life. We want to have some exciting opportunities, but if we just focus on the craft, then we'll do well. I was fortunate many years ago to meet Trevor Sorby backstage at an event. And I was like, I always just thought really creative people just, you know, it just popped. And I said to him, where do you come up with the ideas? You know, and he said, well, I'm hired to do a job and I go through a process and I conceptualize and then I have to execute. So I might have 6 months. So I conceptualize and I have execution. And he told me, he said, creativity starts in the mind and your hands are there purely to execute. So if you have a creative thought and you can't execute, it's useless. So it's critical, and that's where the craft-driven brand comes into it, whether it's learning how to do the perfect ponytail, that beautiful chic bob. Most of the looks that we do are very classic foundational techniques. And it's how we apply them. And I think when you even, you know, what Vivian was saying last night about the technique and the practice and the repetition. I mean, we're being blessed with, you know, what Sassoons gave us in understanding the arrangement of length. And the better we can have our stylists and our trainees and our future staff or co-workers understand that, and the geometry of hair, the more creative we can be. Because if you have a creative thought and you can't execute it, it's on the table. It's a waste of time. So Fashion Week. So when I started the salon, it was interesting. I had no idea what I was doing. Our first salon was actually Nick Arrojo and I started it. But what I understood was that if we were going to compete in New York, we had to be in the media. And how are we going to do that? So at the time, it was interesting that models had left the covers of magazines. It was that era where models were suddenly, the supermodel era was just finishing and the celebrity had now kicked in. And so we would call beauty editors and, you know, and they'd be like, oh, and they'd be like, who? And they said, well, who do you do? And that would be the first question they asked, who do you do? I'm like, I don't do anyone. So they had no interest, click. So I thought, okay, so first of all, we have to go back to our passion and focus on what are we passionate about? What's sustainable and what's going to drive us creatively. So at that point, I was fascinated. I had a little bit of experience at Bumble on the runways, just a little, you know, supporting on a couple of shows, but I was fascinated by it. And it actually wasn't that hot at that time. But I thought what was interesting about Fashion Week was that twice a year, we would be forced to come up with looks that were creative. It wasn't about who we did. It was more about what we did. And it would constantly be evolving. So interestingly, over the years, and our goal was to become an authority of that. I think we have to a certain level. I think we've done a great job. We do 20 to 30 shows a year with Redken, and we have become an authority. And it's had a huge play in establishing career opportunities creatively. Also from the editors, we've built this respect from the editors. And full circle, who did we start seeing at the runway shows front row? Were celebrities. So it was a great choice for us, but I think more importantly, it was an authentic choice, and we're still in it, and we're in it for the right reason. So what we have done also, I want to show you what we shoot some videos every season. This is one that I actually, it's from 15, but I really loved it. Dean Holcomb, we've always shot our stuff in-house. And I know people look at the production and be like, oh my God, we can't afford that. We shoot all of our stuff in-house. We don't have any money. We don't have big budgets. We have really talented people, and we find a way to do it. I think when you've got driven people, you've got excited teams who are creative and want to learn new things, we can do it. So this was shot by, at the time, Dean Holcomb was shooting our stuff. Now Mike's shooting it, and Abner, and we shoot all of our stuff at Fashion Week, and it's been a really fun tool. So I'm going to show you another video.
Hey, Rodney, quick question. Our buddy Nicholas French says, okay, I wanted me to ask you, he said, let's see, when was the last time you did something new for the first time?
When was the last time I did something new?
I love that
comment. For the first time. Today, doing this, and it's been terrifying me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know, it's sort of been, I mean, and Nicholas is, you know, an icon, right? And he's, you know, one of the greats of avant-garde hair and what he does. And you see, you know, what I was talking about before, the conceptualization of hair, and there's nobody better. But I think that's an example. But what I do know is when I'm put into those situations, whether it's at a fashion show, when we do come up with a look, we've also got to be able to execute 30 of them, and that's terrifying sometimes. So every season, I'm in a place where I'm like, you know, out of my comfort zone a little, you know, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes you push it a little too hard, and you learn from it. So it's an uncomfortable place, but I'm comfortably uncomfortable being there. So most of the time, if that makes sense. Let me show you this video. Here it comes. Thanks, Nicholas, for that question. Cool. So if you might have, Derek, you might have noticed the business card, right? That was our, seeing you're a marketing guy, business guy. We would put business cards in because unless you sponsored the whole thing, the whole event.
What's going on? I think
Oh,
that will
sorry.
match with the spirits of the enchanted
We have a
forest.
problem.
Okay, that's definitely not what I thought you were going to say.
There we go. Cool. What we would put business cards in because unless you were the official sponsor, you wouldn't allow you to put any stuff up. So you just put a business card and say, it's a part of the look. I need it in there. So it was our way of getting photographers to shoot stuff. The way it works at a fashion show, and if you look at the diversity of the looks, it's interesting because it's not, we'll look for threads at the end of the season. Our job solely is to make the clothes shine. And I think that comes back to that collaboration. We're a part of the ensemble. It's not a hair show. When we speak to the designer, we go in and do a hair test. We get the inspiration of their clothes. I like it when I've worked with the designer before because you can get a feel for what they want, a clean silhouette. There's a reason why there's so many ponytails on the runway because the silhouette looks absolutely beautiful on a beautiful collection. And it's really about then finding fun little things. And if we can make, let's say, that ponytail with a little bit of a drier texture, or there's a sort of a dewy finish to it, that's what sort of makes it modern and new. And that's what sort of gives it that little special touch. And then every now and then you get to do something crazy, like on this next slide. Can you see that? Yeah, this creativity slide with the pink wig. This was a wig that we did for Betsy Johnson. And Betsy, was one of her last shows. She threw the wig at me, said, I bought this for $5. Is there anything you can do with it? I said, sure, we'll have at it. We'll have some fun. And the collection, and would that work for any collection because it's in season or not? No, absolutely not. But you know, if you know Betsy Johnson's clothes, then it works. It's playful, it's girly, you know, it's eccentric and fun. So it actually worked. One of the things that I'm all about is, you know, work with like-minded people. Or people always say, I don't know any photographers. When we started with young photographers. Weren't in it. We've learned on the way. Mike Martinez, who's now doing all of our creative work, has now just picked up the camera and doing beautiful pictures. So we sort of learn along the way, and we look at our pictures from like 5 or 6 years ago, and we were like, oof. But we learn and we grow. And I think it's really about just sort of establishing yourself with like-minded people and pushing it out there, and you do grow.
Hey, Rodney, I got a question for you. You had mentioned earlier about with clients in your chair and about, you know, who are they, you know, in terms of the traditional consultation. When you work with fashion designers, do you sort of apply the same type of theory? Because we've heard varying degrees of people that work on Fashion Week, and obviously you had a lovely story about Trevor Sorbet that Vivian McKender last night did not have the same. Her aftermath of the story was a lot different than what she felt at the time while she was crying in the bathroom. But
she was alongside him for a long time. I was with him for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. But do you apply the same type of theory? Like, does it matter if it's a client in terms of in your chair or a fashion designer? Like, are you sort of got the same thinking cap on when you do what you do?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, absolutely. So with a designer, again, we are there to make their clothes shine. And if you look at the great editorial show hairdressers, you know, Guido and Eugene and Peter Graves and Duffy now, who's doing amazing work, they understand the aesthetic. They understand the DNA. You've got to go deep in what's the storytelling of that collection and how does the hair help tell that story. That's it. And then the challenge with that, and I think Nicholas will agree with this, with the technique, you've got 30 models, you might have 15 hairdressers and varying degrees of talent. So the most critical thing is the collection going to look good? Can it be executed from first model to last model in 3 hours or less? And that's a big part of the decision making as well. You've got to be realistic. In Europe, you know, the call times are a lot longer. So in New York Fashion Week, you get 3 hours. So yes, but James, absolutely, it's the same process. It's that we're there to make the client happy. It's not about us. It's not about how good you think you are or how many shows you've done. I've been not hired many times, and I've had great relationship with designers for many, many years as well. And you're only as good as your last show.
Yeah, and you know, Mary Wilson, who's on, which obviously Mary and Phil were on a few days. I mean, it feels like a year ago at this point, but it was probably about 5 or 6 days ago. She said when you do Fashion Week, they are in charge. When you do your shoots, you're in charge. But Vanessa on Facebook had a great question and said, how do you keep the young apprentices in your culture motivated for 18 months or more of training?
Well, I think they're always learning. I think we've got a pretty exciting environment. The big thing too for me is that if you don't love being in the salon, then don't work in a hair salon. You know, like I don't apologize about that. It's really hard work. I still work really, really hard. I won't judge somebody's character and say you have to do this, but I will say that here's what it's going to take, right? So here's the steps it's going to take to get into a place to set you up for success. Because learning how to cut a straight line is one thing, but understanding the language of, you know, dealing with the clientele, and whether it's in New York or Jersey or wherever you are in the world, it's understanding that language and having the maturity to be ready to build a clientele. And everybody has different time frames with that, right? So that's just the way that we do it. And we do have a lot of assistants who eventually decide it's not right for them. And I think that's fine. I would rather know that. And I think that's not a test of one's character. It's just finding the right path. The beauty with our industry, we can all charge very different prices. We can do it anywhere in the world under very different circumstances. And I think that's what's amazing about it.
Rodney, it's a little bit off topic, but I've got to address this because it's got me a little wound up. I've got somebody asking, and give me your honest opinion because you own multiple salons. What are your changes and or preparations for after COVID? In other words, what are you going to do to kick up your salons? I know it's off topic and I hate to disturb your train, but I want to get this out of the way.
Well, we were talking earlier in terms of policy, or just, I think these are times to reset and question. The problem is we do a lot of clients. We'll do 160 clients in Soho, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's a lot of business. So when you're in that productivity mode and you're not gathering new thoughts or gathering, or you're not questioning it. You know, I went in there today and it was empty, and I just looked at all the chairs that didn't match, and I was like, oh my God, how did we let this happen? You know, because someone's always in them. I don't notice it as much. So this is the opportunity to reset and question yourself. You know, now in terms of staff, look, you know, I was here in 9/11 and things changed. It was a different energy post 9/11. And so I don't know how people are going to feel and how we're going to interact. We talked earlier, is it going to be a soft opening? Are we going to all bundle back in there? I doubt. So I think we're just going to have to feel it out. I do think we're going to have to be compassionate and understanding of people are going to have different needs, you know? What are your thoughts on that?
So I appreciate what you just said. I'm going to go a little further, if you don't mind, based on the question that was in the group. Is editorial part going to be a part of post-corona? Absolutely. It's called branding. And if you don't understand that, then you don't belong in the group. So please keep your questions nice and honorable. Okay.
Yeah, and
we're all here to learn. Let me just say this, Rodney. We're all here to learn. Okay. We have multiple trainers on here who are giving technical. We have multiple trainers on here who are giving you their heart. It's a mix of everything. So if you're not happy with the lesson tonight, or if you have comments that are rude, then please get out of the group, or I will help you get out of the group. End of story. Rodney, I appreciate what you're doing. Editorial work is branding, like Vivian said, and is super important. If you can't build a brand now or afterwards, then you shouldn't be a business owner, period.
Well, and the editorial world's changed, right? And we have to adapt with that. Like there's less magazines, it's more digital. So people, I think the word editorial is just, it's so loose, you know. It's like we're all just trying to earn a living doing what we love. And if someone's fortunate enough to do the cover of Vogue and make a living, so be it. If somebody's on a platform teaching for Redken Matrix, Paul Mitchell, fantastic. If you love cutting hair in the chair, so be it. So have at it. You know, if you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. If you don't want to do editorial, I'm inspired by it. It's something that's been great for our brand to create a point of difference. One thing that we do, we pull it all back to the salon. And that'll change. Will it be? It's not the same. It's not the same. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you look, the magazine world has changed. There's less ads, less magazines, and that has to recalibrate itself, just like anything, you know.
Beautiful, Rodney. You're 100% on board, and you're 100% on point. I think you and Viv last night showed us how important branding is, whether it's called editorial work, whether it's called your business image, whether it's called your business card, right? Handing out a business card at these shows. It doesn't matter. It's your look, it's your image, it's a look of what you're presenting to your clients and yourself. Super important. And I appreciate you really pouring it out.
And
So
just to go
I'll
one
let-
deeper, I'll just go one deeper on that. It's the freelance, they're session hairdressers. They're either doing editorial, which is generally showcasing magazines or whatever, and that builds their portfolio to get jobs in advertising, and that's how they make their money. That whole world is upside down. It's a different world, but it'll recorrect and they'll find new ways, just like we did. Our industry's changed from 20 years ago. So it's easy for people to throw out, oh, editorial. It's much more than just being an editorial hairdresser. You know? So pushing your boundaries and your creativity. I thought this was an interesting, Grace, who I was cutting here. I always find it interesting when people say, my clients are really boring. It's generally because you're boring as a hairdresser. So you get the clientele you deserve, hate to tell you. And I'm not doing rock and roll haircuts all day. That's on me. So you get the clientele that is like-minded. And this was an interesting, Grace actually had long hair at the time on top. And she was like, you know what, I'm thinking about shaving it. So I literally grabbed it in a ponytail on top and I cut it. And we know that if you grab it in a ponytail, it's shorter on the inside and longer on the outside because the outsides have to travel further. And then we got this really interesting look. And I was like, I was just fascinated. Like, I wouldn't do that. But I had this opportunity to push it and it worked. And then you discover something. So we're in our comfort zone. We have our clients, but try to just stretch a little. You know, and if you are bored, it's because you're boring with your clients and you've got to push them. I think clients are guided by our advice. If we push them a little further and we know who they are, we can actually go a lot further than we actually think with them and reinvent them in a way we never believed. Connectivity. You know, I think this is... it's a little bit what you were just talking about then, Derek, too. It's just about embracing everybody. And I never wanted to do this alone. It's just not my MO. I'm not that sort of hardcore leader. I'm pounding the drum. It's lonely at the top. And anybody who's owned a hair salon, it's lonely at the top, right, James? It's like, you know, everybody thinks it's easy, but it's on you. And I never wanted that kind of environment or that culture. And
well, it's funny too, Rodney, right? Especially now when you have everything going on in the salon environment between the, you know, PPP loans and all the craziness that, you know, we had a really nice message sent out to our staff. We have a scheduled Zoom call tomorrow. And I'm sure, how many people do you have on staff?
I think about 150.
Oh, that's it? I mean, you're so small. I don't even know what kind of Zoom account do you have? You need to be connected to the Zoom satellite to have 150 people in this environment. But you know how it is. It's hard. You know, you're making decisions based on federal and state law that you never really thought about, where, you know, maybe 3 months ago you were like, hey, what are we going to do for the next Paris Fashion Week? Or what are we going to do for this? Or who are we going to work with? So it's got to be crazy for you too.
Yeah, and I think the cross-pollination is the key to this, about having a sustainable brand. You know, I work with Redken, I work with Ratner, I've been the creative director for them the last couple of years. Our staff work on with them. We're doing certain things. The Arlo Hotel, we just created a new partnership. My partner Jenny runs that. And they have this incredible sort of digital program. There's a super cool hotel. Saturdays, which is a fashion label. We created a hair care line for them. And Fat Boy, you know, Tyson's my partner in the salons. I love doing it collectively. I don't want to do it alone. I feel that if it's under my umbrella, I'm only going to touch the people that I can touch. When we sort of spread it out, we can sort of take it much broader and outside. And the other thing I think is that we tend to get stuck in our little bubble. There are so many opportunities that are outside of our actual industry. So I think whether you're an independent hairdresser, in a suite booth rental, or you're an independent hairdresser who works for a brand within a brand at a salon, or you're a salon owner, it's really about reaching out and expanding that's going to kind of broaden your opportunities, you know.
So Rodney, I have a quick one for you. with regard to building education teams, now I feel this is like one of the keys if you want to keep your staff and you want your staff to be truly involved in your business and feel like they are better than everybody else. And that's important because if your staff doesn't feel they're better than every other salon in your area, you've already got a problem. Part of that, in my mind, is creating an education team inside of your salon.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you did that and your thoughts on that.
Well, so I used to teach years ago, and I had an assistant come up to me very nervously one day, and she said, when you teach and you're focused, you're a really good teacher, but you never focus. Because I would be like, cut that section, I'd make 3 phone calls, and I'd call the bank and the lawyer and the press and the you know, it's as Andrew, the E-myth, right? The running around doing everything. So I realized then that if we're going to do this, we have to break every department down and have the right people in the right person in the right seat on the bus. And we've become a much better company when I've stepped away. We have amazing educators, you know, in haircutting. We have 3 educators, Ting, Danielle, and Greg, same in color, and they do an amazing job. And they're very, very focused on. And I will say, I can see the generations. I can see their understanding, and I'm not a colorist, but on the haircutting side, where I can see their understanding it at a different level from, you know, maybe someone we trained 5 years ago. So we're actually creating better hairdressers. It costs a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. It costs a lot of money. It is the most important investment we make. It's absolutely critical. You know, we all talk about walkouts and this and that, and it's just about people move on. People need new things in their lives, and if we're creating new talent who want to be a part of the brand, you know, we can keep going and do it in a healthy way.
Well, Rodney, when you're, tell me if I'm right or wrong, when you're creating an education team, it's in the salon, but it's independent of the salon, and they feel a loss if they want to move on to somewhere else, because then they know they're not going to be part of that education team, correct?
Yeah. But I'm sensitive like anybody and take it personally, but it's life. You know, I'm actually I don't know, my staff will probably say I haven't got better at it. I'm trying to get better. It's just a part of the process. It's not easy being an owner. But it's a part of the journey. If you're not up for it, don't get in it. You know, it's like, you know, it is what it is, you know, and it really is a marathon. You know, it's like, you know, the one thing I will say, Derek, not to challenge you on this, I really say to just focus on what we're doing. You know, if we do a great job, there's only one Rodney. There's only one Melissa who works for us. Melissa's not down the road. She's not in the next chair. We have really tried to create individual hairdressers and bring out their uniqueness, but have a standard of expectation. But we don't want cookie cutter hairdressers. So we want, you know, and again, I said that earlier about Sassoon's giving us these incredible tools of the geometry of hair. Once you understand that, have at it. Become your own creative voice. So that's just our brand. Everyone else, again, tonight's really about just sharing with you the way we've done it. It's not right. It works for us, may not work for you. But we want individuality in our creativity. I don't want 50 Rodneys. That would be a really boring place, you know? We had 50 Rodneys next to me cutting hair.
Hey, Rodney, question for you. In terms of, I love what you said about having a standard and still letting some of that creativity and individuality stand out. Besides all the craziness that's going to happen after the reset, what's your threshold for that? So, like, if you said now we're talking about sanitation and some of the protocols that may be put in federally or statewide that you're going to have to do with clients. Maybe you can't double book. Maybe there's limitations in clients. But in terms of your actual standard, which you mentioned, like, what is the threshold that you let them go outside of it? So if it's uniform, if it's this, like, what's your thought on the threshold?
Well, I mean, I think the best, I don't want to spend my life managing people. I've always said, I've always wanted Cutler to be an ownership culture. For example, if I say to you, if you don't come to work on time tomorrow, you're fired. You'll come to work until the day you really don't care whether you're fired or not, right? So, and then you don't come to work, you know? So I would rather create a culture that has said, okay, here are the benefits of coming to work on time. Happy client, happy you, earn a better living, to live a better life, and it all works. So I have tried to create, now I've been criticized for it being a little bit too gray. There's not enough rules. And and then there's too many rules. I definitely am on the left. I'm not saying I get it right. I think it's, I think there needs to be structure. But that's just my leadership style. Again, back to authenticity. You can only lead the way you lead. I always say that about teachers. Teach you. You can't teach somebody else. You can only teach what you teach. And I feel like that's the same in leadership. We can work on it. We can gather more stuff. But ultimately, I'm going to be the leader that I am, And so we'll see about the procedures. I was reading something interesting about Singapore, and just how the way they have lived for a long time and the structure. Now, are we going to go more structured and just naturally have gloves and wear? I have no idea. I think we'll just see as time goes on, right?
Yeah, and that's actually a really interesting point too, is that what do you adopt from other cultures based on their population density? You're in New York, so the big crazy of the hot spot or the hotbed that happened with COVID is that New York, everybody's on the subway, they're on the trains, they're touching doorknobs, and when you have a virus like this that spreads easily that way, that's why it's been such a crazy thing. But how is that applicable in making the client experience not so fearful, and it's more an executive decision? Like you said, there's a standard of how we wash the clothes in Cutler Salon.
So it's interesting you say executive decision. So this is what I should do, and I will do now that I've said it. You can hold me up, Andrew, if I don't follow through. But we as a group need to make that rule, because this is much more than like, wear black, shiny shoes. This is people feeling comfortable with their work environment. We spend a third of our life, at work, right? Nearly, some more, a little less or more. So people need to be comfortable with these and I think we need to do it as a group. And somebody actually reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, one of our staff, and said, is there a way we could have a forum where we could actually discuss what's going to work in the future? I think it's great. So we need to do it.
Yeah, we're working on it in the Salon Owners Mastermind group with Salon Ops. So you definitely you're already signed up whether you like it or not. So you're already on the short list.
Cool. So I'm going to talk about seizing the opportunities. I don't know if John's on tonight. He's the creative director at Ratner, but I laughed. I said I have to mention him because I always do, and it drives him crazy. But anyway, so this is really about seizing opportunities. I have done and still do many things for free, and some of them are a waste of time, and I do them sometimes for a creative journey. I do it just out of goodwill, and I think it's really important that we don't get stuck in return on investment for every single thing we do, because it happens all the time. I'll do a bang trim, whatever. I could name it on and on and on, and I never want to change it. Now, our time becomes more value when you start to prioritize what you do, but I think it's a really important thing. And this was one example that happened for me, was that I was actually with my kids in the pool, and I think they were 6 or 7. And it was one of those few moments where they're actually happy with me. They were in the pool, and I get this call, can you come and cut Emma's hair? And I was like, oh, I'm in the pool, and I'm not going to get there for 2 hours. And I was in Westchester, and I was like, you know what, get out of the pool, kids. And the kids start, dropping F-bombs to me at 7 or whatever it was. And then we go, and I ended up cutting all the hair off. And it was one of those things where it would have been just so easy. Now, it's a different thing. It's Emma Watson, of course, I understand that. But it's so easy just to go, no, am I going to come in 15 minutes to do that bang trim for that person who can't get there any other time? And I just feel like seizing those opportunities. And I have found the relationships that we have built have been sustainable and long-term. And all these people that have helped us on our journey, I could, name people that we met when we first opened, and no one really supported us. I remember Wilhelmina, plus size models were really supportive. And to this day, we love working with them. So I've always tried to remember about seizing opportunities, and don't look at this as a return on investment every time you do something. I think it's really critical and a good life lesson. Cool. Social media. So this is my last slide. And what I want to say, I'm not going to go into the whole social media stuff. And by the way, I'm an idiot with this stuff. And we actually have a very, I think, a productive social media page. And I think it's actually important for, for hairdressers, anybody who's, it's not their strength, but you can still be a part of it, and you can still be successful through that. And we've done a really great job with it. And it's not me, it's our staff have done a fantastic job. It's our first time in our business, we have not had a PR firm on retainer. And they were pretty reasonable for New York. We were spending $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. And that's a lot of money. And we're doing it ourselves. We've become our own voice. I will say we get more new guests. I don't even know the numbers. I should know that. Andrew will beat me up for not knowing that number off the top of my head. But I think we're getting over 100 a week in Soho, and it's becoming that creative voice. We have become our own platform. And I think from curating our own content, doing our own videos on social, and our staff it's become a big part. So when they go on the floor, the team have done a fantastic job in sort of sharing that information and helping everybody build that platform. And obviously it's not going away, and it's saved us $60,000. So I think it's absolutely critical that we sort of focus on that even more. And for once, people, you have this visual advert. We were talking about editorial before. This is your editorial board. You can showcase your work. Go and see my hairdresser. In the past, of like, look at your hair and trust that your friend's going to be truthful and that they're good. Now you can see their work, and I think it's become a huge part of our business over the last couple of years, and the growth that we've had.
Rodney, one of the things I love about what you posted with your social media right there is that they're not so cookie cutter, the photos, right? Not everyone's in front of a green screen or a white screen or in the same exact spot. It's eclectic, but it still works completely fantastic. And I think a lot of stylists that ask about social media, especially Instagram, they're so worried about having that exact space in their salon where they take the same photo of the same client. And this is perfect proof. It's like, it just looks great.
Well, my team will procure me, because this was done a while ago, this one. And if you look at our page now at Cutler Salon, what I've tried to do, and Alexandra is running our page, we have someone dedicated who runs it. But the team are so involved in it. And is that it is diverse. We don't want, super crazy haircuts and super beachy waves. That we try to be diverse and speak to, again, the beginning was the ethos of what we do in New York City. And it's just like what Vivian was saying about creating that brand and showcasing creatively who we are.
Hey, Rodney, quick question. Tell me what your number one lesson for building a brand is.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's really a marathon. And I think it's a process, and it morphs and it weaves. Look, I mean, I could tell you so many stories why we shouldn't have even got into business. The first space we got was disaster. We didn't do a title search. Can you believe that? And there were liens on it. And then our lawyer was like, well, it's too late. You already have it. And there's so many things that, if I hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have got in there. So I really do think is establishing first of all, it's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight. You may not figure it out from day one, and it may morph, but if you start to think about the values of what you stand for, and culturally, but also creatively, like I said earlier, we make our money doing hair. So connecting the dots between business and creative is really important.
So the next one I have for you, and this is a touchy subject because I really want to lay it out here, and Rodney,
I think, Derek, you should handle that. You're good with the touchy subject.
I'm a crazy Marine. You're a brilliant guy, though. I'm a crazy Marine, right? They say us Marines eat crayons. I don't know. But anyway, so my next thing is touchy subject, raising prices.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Now, I had a conversation today with Nikki, and a lot of people jumped all over her for saying, it may be time to raise prices. And I brought up, I think I had a brilliant suggestion, which was to kind of do a disaster insurance built into raising your prices the same way we do Green Circle, right? So we do Green Circle. We say you pay this much. Now, I think that clients are going to have sympathy for salons right now. And it may be a good time to say, hey, 10% of our raised price is going towards a disaster insurance fund so that we can keep operational if this ever happens again. What are your thoughts on prices?
Well, it's funny because New York, right? We have $1,200 and very cheap. I first of all, I never judge people on what they charge because everyone likes to get all emotional and freaked out. I do not charge. I'm going to say I do not charge as much as I could. Being the owner of the salon, my first time haircut is $200, and then it's $160. Now, some of my staff even get upset at that. I don't care, even if they would charge as much as me as more. The reason I do that, and so forgetting the economics, sorry, Derek, for a minute, is that I also want to do the work that I want to do, and I want people to be able to afford it. So if I charge $500 and I'm doing, let's say, half of the haircuts that I was doing, and it's not the work, and then there's people who can afford $500 and maybe not going to be as creative, that's going to affect me emotionally and creatively. So I've made decisions personally to not go down that path. And I think it's supply and demand. You can charge whatever you want. I mean, and we have it a lot when people come in and we hire people sometimes from the outside and they're like, I want $250, and I'm like, that's fine, but you're going to be getting new guests, walk-ins, etc., and you're going to build better at 100 or 120, and then go to 140 and get busier and go to 160. But again, I don't tell. I just say you can do whatever you want, but here's my recommendation.
Hey, Rodney, on the question that Derek had said about pricing, Steve Gomez was on, who's a big Excel spreadsheet finance guy, a few nights ago, and we love Steve, and he talked about knowing what your hourly costs were and stuff as an owner or as a stylist, even finance. Now, when we get back to whatever I hate to say new normal, it's annoying me to no extent, but when we get back into it, is it going to be more of an equation of, what you charge for your time, what you charge for your expertise, and the fact that you can't have more than one client? Is that something that you would factor in your salons?
Well, I just James, before I get there, just on the pricing, your guests, who they are, right? I know who my guests are, and I know there's some would bump up and some wouldn't if I charge an extra $150. So you got to know your market. I think sometimes it's just, and I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to prices. Fine, you can say it, but it's just not that black and white. It's emotional. Your guests, I've had them since they were a Bumble, and I have new ones that come in, and some of them I met at 20, and now they're 40 and they're making more money. So I think it's not. It's not just a spreadsheet thing. I get that, but it's not just that. Sorry, and what was your other question, James?
So go ahead, James, and then I have a couple.
Oh, no, Derek, go first, because I'm getting a lot of questions on Facebook all over the place. Let Derek go, and then I'll.
So my next one is a little more lighthearted, Rodney.
I know. I'm sorry I didn't help you out with the pricing one. I'm not very good with that.
We're going to drink scotch after this, buddy. My next one is somebody asked in the group, how do you stay so inspired? Not only long-term, but during this?
You know what? I just think you're only, what you did yesterday is kind of done. It's just a little bit my personality, my ADD personality. So I'm always moving on to the next thing. So, like even tonight doing this, I was all, I called Andrew 15 times last week. Well, so it's about, I think when you're comfortable and it's just, it's gone, the light's out, right? So I'm always on the edge, no matter whether it's I'm giving a meeting or doing a client for the first time or doing a fashion show. For me, it's just like that little edge and that anxiety is kind of makes it exciting. I think when you lose that, it's done. It's over.
I kind of agree, right? It's kind of embracing the uncomfortable, right? It's the people that can find that exciting. You're going to go places in life. Some people when they experience anxiety or something that's changed, they back away. Some people have the other type of personality who they find that exciting, exhilarating to maybe step out of their new norm, right? And do something different on a regular basis. I have the 2-second rule. If I'm anxious about it, I do it before 2 seconds are up because my brain won't have the chance to catch up to the anxiety. Yet I know I should have done it in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, but that's the only way I can explain it.
Well, and it's also, does it paralyze you, right? Does it, we all get fear. We hear about famous singers. Like, is that adrenaline going to push you, or is it going to paralyze you? And if it's paralyzing, it's a problem, But I love it. I'm I think I'm a pretty high energetic person, and I absolutely, I say this I love my job. I love going to work.
Rodney, question that's been coming up more than once.
Clients every day,
Rodney, a question that's been coming up more than once on Facebook is who has inspired you in your career?
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, my first boss, Paul, who's still in Melbourne, Paul Whitehead, he was one of the first guys to bring sassoons to Australia. Who, he could talk about hair underwater with marbles in his mouth. I'm like, shut up. I'd go swimming with him just so he'd shut up, So, I mean, there's so many. Dean Holcomb, who I worked with for years, Anthony Barrow, who's one of our, we always sort of talk about the icons, but, Anthony, who I've worked next to for 20 years, he's one of the most beautiful craftsmen of cutting hair, understands the geometry of hair better than anybody. So I think, I know we always want to hear about those big moments, but I actually think our career is made up of lots of little ones, like it's like people always say, what was it? I did Emma Watson's makeover, blah, blah, blah. But it's like I do 40 haircuts every week, so those moments are all really good. Not always, but generally they're good. So yeah, no, there's just been so many.
But that's beautiful though. And that's the first time that anybody's said, listen, Trevor Sorbet is great. Anybody that had the opportunity to meet Vidal, obviously he's an icon, but you're the first one so far that went back and said, hey, the guy I work next to every day for the last 20 years has been kick-ass and, and done the work and whatever. But I will ask you this. I don't know.
Can I say one thing on that?
Sure.
Stephen Moody. I don't know if you're Stephen Moody. He's a Sassoon's icon. And then I don't know where he's now, but he was at Weller. And I went to a course many years ago, and he said something that stuck with me forever. And he said, don't go to work on a Monday wishing it's a Friday, because you're going to wish your life away. And he said, we spend a third of our life at work, a third in bed, and a third doing everything else. So you better enjoy the person that's in your bed and enjoy your work. And it stuck with me, and I was, and I still remember that, And it's those little things, going to a salon. And I think more than ever, we all are going to appreciate it more. That's what's definitely coming on day one. We're going to be like, everybody from our staff will call me. I'm like, oh my God, I just miss, not me, but they miss their clients. They're like, I just miss my clients. And I miss the co-workers. And that's what it's about.
That's awesome. Hey, Rodney, just one last thing. I know you're not scheduled to come back on with us, I don't think. Right, Derek?
As of now, but no, I don't know, because we may be pushing this all the way through June.
Depending. I'll have to make it up.
Well,
hold on. And hold on one second, James. Andrew, just quickly, we're booked through the end of April, correct?
Correct. We are.
Okay, so what we may do is we may go through all of May to push this up to June. So a lot of the educators you've heard will be back on. Rodney, obviously we're going to want you back on, and you're just awesome. I'm not cutting this off right now. I just wanted to get that out.
No, and really a lot of questions that have come in that have been off topic have been about what the new environment looks like. And for you, because you do have multiple salons in New York City, which is in the hot spot, and you have a lot of employees, I think it would be interesting to not, even if it wasn't a PowerPoint, even if it was just some of what you're going through as an owner, might be interesting to some of the people that are on these calls, right?
So just on that, and we talked earlier about it, right? About people are going to be emotional. We don't know. There's going to be people who want to come back to work, they want to go back home. I think the one thing, my recommendation, is that we need to be flexible. We need to be flexible. We need to, sometimes we get so stuck in the brand, and this is the way it works, the business, and we need to be flexible. And it's a lot of people's emotions, and some people are going to be totally fine, and some people are going to be nervous and uncertain financially. I'm getting calls from our staff about, financially we're going to be okay. And by the way, is the salon going to be okay? And I'm like, I have to lay out, that process. Our landlords, I think, are going to be fine. We have no cash anymore. I think we'll be fine. We'll get going. We're in a business where people pay straight away, and we'll get going and we'll be fine. But, I can't guarantee that, of course, So I think flexibility and just understanding that.
Rodney, brilliant what you just said. I've had a lot of questions in the group. I got tuned up a little bit earlier because it's a jarhead in me, right? But I'm very protective of this industry. And, a lot of people are saying, what is the new norm? We don't know what the new norm is right now. But what I can say from my perspective is that we have to stick to the basics that we haven't used in, not all of us. Some of us know the basics of running a business, right? And it's usually the most successful salon owners. So during this reset, you need to get back, look at the basics, knowing your numbers, all those other great things. Do those. Now, the next step is, okay, what is life going to look like coming out of this? And we're going to have classes on that, right? But we don't know right now. We don't know what the social distancing rules are going to be. We don't know those types of things. When we know those types of things, then we can obviously adapt, improvise, and overcome, right? That should be your motto, period, like the Marines. Adapt, improvise, overcome. That should be ingrained in your head, posted on your wall, because as an owner, that's how you need to move. Nobody has all the answers. These panelists in here are giving you their experience of being successful owners and making it happen. But from this point forward, all of us can give you great advice on the basics of business going forward after COVID. And I hate this thing. James just said it. I hate this whole word after, right? It seems like the apocalypse was over.
Well,
but regardless of what that is, we need to make sure our basics are in place, right? We got to build the foundation. You can't have a good house unless you have a good foundation. So let's build that right now, and then adapt to the new rules.
Like I started, if we focus on doing beautiful hair and getting better, and Andrew always says, the owner, there's only 100 pennies in every dollar. And, and that's it. And we have at it, beautiful hair, and be conscious, of the business costs. Look, and by the way, I will say, when I started our first salon, I was like, I'm not qualified for this. I didn't get out of high school, and so my biggest fear was managing really smart people, and they're the easiest to manage because they get it, and that's probably one of my biggest learnings early on was that, having people, the more knowledge we share and again, I'm not going to tell owners how to run their business. I am pretty open. You want to know about it? I would rather because the more they know, the better chance they have of understanding. And I don't know what, our margins are, what's the average hair salon? 4 to 5%. So, so it's not high. So the more that the staff understand that, the more appreciative and responsible, again, back to the ownership culture from, color wastage, just to everything,
Rodney, you just said something really important. I just want to make a point here about managing people. And it's just my philosophy. But we cannot manage people. We can manage systems and processes. We can barely manage ourselves. So this time, here's my perspective. At this time, anyone who doesn't learn really how to manage themselves, how to manage their emotions, how to manage their energy, how to manage their thinking, is doing themselves a disservice. That's where we have to focus, because we're going to be facing a lot of new things. Maybe we won't. I'm kind of thinking we will. But first, it's self-management. And you, because I've known you for a long time, know how to manage yourself. My hat's off to you, really. And that you can do that allows you to have built a company to 150 employees and with all the strings attached to it and all the bells and whistles. So my hat's off to you, literally.
Thank you, Andrew.
Brilliant, Rodney. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Quick comment to Michelle. Michelle, the creativity and the inspiration right now is just as important as the basics. Get it all together, get it in place, and that will make you a complete salon owner.
I want to know when Andrew's going to be on. You know, I haven't seen him on the schedule because apparently every educator that's been on so far, Andrew knows, you know, him and Rodney are going out for drinks and he's in Beth's apartment and he's with Vivian and, you know, Andrew, you know, we might have to end this with Andrew. I might have to, you know.
We're giving, Derek and I are giving people their platform.
Listen, you're the Johnny Carson of this, Andrew. I'm just, you know, I'm the Jimmy Fallon, so I'm just doing what I have to do.
And you're great. You're amazing.
Cool.
Rodney, you have any last pieces of inspiration you'd like to give everybody? Because I would love to end it on an inspiring note, not on the downer of COVID.
Oh, look, I think I'll just go back to, you know, don't go to work wishing it's Monday when wishing it was a Friday when it's a Monday. I think we're, you know, we've been saying how blessed we are, you know, to do what we do, and we will get through this, you know, and we will have to be flexible, and I think we're going to be fine, you know, and I think if we just, you know, support one another, and it's going to be fine. We're going to get through it, you know, and just, you know, be good to each other.
So
I'm going to bring my son in here because he did it. This is my son.
He's the mastermind. Exactly.
He only jacked it up once, so that wasn't bad. So twice he said. So thank you, Andre.
Yes, thank you, Andre. My son helped us when we were on our very first night in getting the router set up with the Wi-Fi changes and all the homeschooling crap. So we appreciate you.
That's great. Thanks. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. And by the way, if anybody wants to reach out, you know, we can set up somewhere to get in contact with anybody has any questions and so forth. And thank you to our staff. You guys rock, and thank you.
Thanks, Rodney. We definitely want to have you back again, for sure. You know, I think that motivation is one of the keys to where we are right now. Of course, all the basics and all the business training are there, but you got to have those basics. But motivation and hearing people's personal stories, especially successful owners like yourself, is important to us as a group right now, I think. We can't be constantly living in the trenches, right? When you live in the trenches, you get trench foot. So I'm just telling you, get out of there, right? Andrew, I see you laughing with my marine analogies, right? So
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, everybody, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Salon Ops, 2 words, so you can rewatch all these and share them with your friends. Rodney, it's been a great pleasure having you on this evening. And if anybody has any last minute questions, I'm going to shut my big mouth for 2 seconds. You can post them. We're going to cut off in a couple seconds. So I'm out.
I'm Rodney. Just lots of love, lots of thank yous from everybody. I think inspiration, as Derek said before, I know everybody has a lot of questions about how things are going to look after and loans and all that stuff, but I feel like maybe after 3 or 4 weeks for most salons, we're all in the inspiration mode, and hopefully that's starting to charge this train that is going to, get us out of this.
Well, I will say one last thing on that. We do have a small team working their butts off, Carissa and Ann and a few others and I think that's critical. You can't, you know, we're out of work at the moment, but you've got to keep the wheels turning. You know, you can't just wake up in a month and go, oh, okay, I'm ready. So, you know, we are working very, very hard in that when we're ready to go back or allowed to go back, that we're ready to go. So you got to have at it now, whether it's a loans or whatever it is, you know, speaking to your landlord, you know, whatever it is.
And wait, you committed to coming back on, right? Did I hear that, like verbally?
I would love to come back if you know.
Well, because we're all legal experts now. We're all doing a lot of banking paperwork. We've talked to our accountants and attorneys, so we just want to hear that Rodney has agreed verbally on Facebook Live and on the Zoom that he is going to come back.
Only if social distancing is over and I get to do it in Andrew's apartment, because I want to see what's going on. It looks pretty fancy. So if I can do it from his apartment with him.
Andrew will wear a mask and he will allow it. He's actually got like a crazy mask, I think it was like he was a Star Wars guy. It's like a Darth Vader thing. He'll be fine.
And I also have a guest mask.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate your time tonight. And thank you to your son for running the technical stuff, right? So great meeting. Good night, everybody. Have a great night. And remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Good night, guys.
See you guys.
this down.